Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
Today we're just cool kicking it in the studio. It's a freestyle week, so no honorables list, but we do have a song to play for you from Symphonic Noctum after the show. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, it's going to be dope. My buddy on Instagram does some really cool symphonic black metal, so we haven't had any black metal yet, so excited to share some.
It's really dope. And I honestly, I couldn't really peg a genre on it. It was just, it's very scary, very spooky music. I like it.
Oh,
Definitely had some satanic vibes in it.
Definitely, but real pretty too. It's got some weird stuff. We'll talk a little bit more. How was your week, man?
Week's been good. I've been doing the most and also the least. I was burning the candle at both ends last week. And then I just spent the last 2 days binging horror movies.
Nice.
I watched The Fourth Kind again.
Ooh, shit.
It's always a good one. We just talked about last week, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. At the market this weekend, we had a psychic fair.
Yeah, what the fuck? Give me the scoop on that shit.
So this was so I walk in, as I'm like pulling up to the building, I see a sign out front that says psychic fair today, or whatever the fuck it was. It was just a purple sign with like some ribbons on it. And I go in, and half of the market, it's usually like antiques and like a flea market kind of set up. Half the market is all these new people, and it's like people set up with like a little table so they could do like palm and tarot readings and stuff.
Oh.
And there's at least, I counted 13 of them as I was kind of like passing through, going to the bathroom. But there's probably more. And they all had like their different little wares that they make, like I mean, you know, so like candles and like essential oils and like, you know, lotions and, you know, the stones, like the rocks and, you know, different shit, crystals and whatever. But what all of them had, the thing that they all had in common, so they all had, so many of them had these like big, like you can tell that they do these kind of events a decent amount because they all had these, the signs, the big vinyl, like vertical stand signs, and they had like their picture on them, and some of them said like doctor or something or this, and it wasn't like MD doctor, it was just like,
No. Oh no.
Yeah. But you could tell they all had this vibe about them that was like failed YouTube or Instagram influencer, failed social media influencer that was like, that made these essential oils in their bathtub at home, and then they turned around and sold them as medicine.
So you're basically saying if this podcast fails,
we have an avenue to get into. You know, some of them were charging, so they were charging like 15 minutes for a $10 reading.
Oh my god!
Or for a 10-minute reading, I mean. So they would charge. So they're making more than $60 an hour if they're making shit like that. But so many of them would come up to my stand and like get a smoothie during the day, and they would come up and they'd be like, "Oh man, there's so many people here, but no one's getting readings." And I was like, "Go figure." You know.
So last episode we trashed ghost believers a bit, right?
Yeah.
So what's your read on the psychics?
Most of them were exactly what you would expect. So there was one of the first of them that came up to my stall there, and she came up and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're open. I'm so, I was looking forward to, I need something to eat." I was like, "Oh, cool. I recommend this thing." And she was like, "Oh, good. And then she was reading the thing and she was like, she was just talking a bunch of shit, and she was like, "Oh, I'm an Aries. You have to excuse me. I'm crazy like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Dude, that is like the biggest red flag
and
ever.
This woman's like in her late 50s. And then she was like, "When's your birthday?" And I was like, I almost considered like, of trying to avoid it, but I thought it's not a big deal. So I was like, "Oh, it was earlier this month." And she was like, "Oh, so you're a lovely Libra then?" And I said, yeah. She said, like, "Oh, you're all calm and collected now, but just wait. You'll be crazy like me eventually." I was like, at least I have something to look forward to. And then she proceeded to like just talk and talk and talk, and I'm waiting for her to like order a thing. And there's a couple people like coming up behind her, and there's like a pause where she was like looking at the menu still. And I looked back to the other person. I was like, "Do you know what you'd like to get?" And she was like, "Oh," and then she cut it back in and was like, "I'm going to get this thing." I was like, "All right, cool." So I rang her in real quick and then got the next couple people together. But there was one person that one of them came up to me, and I didn't even realize that she was a reader because she came in and was kind of talking shit about the fair in general. She was like, "This is pretty wild in here today, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." And then she said something about, she hadn't had any people come over to her booth and no one's getting reading. And she was like, but she was saying like she doesn't take it as seriously. People come in like to her like expecting to get like their future told or whatever, but she doesn't see it like that. It's like, this is more of just a suggestion. It's almost like therapy for some people to be like, you're going to get out of it what you want to. Doesn't matter what I say to you. You're going to, apply it to your life in the way that you want. And I was like, yes, that's a good way to look at it.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, do you think there is an art aspect to it, or that there's like a level of whether it's therapy or just things you can learn from the...
I do. I think, and kind of relate it to the idea of like when you do the, when you flip a coin, they say like as soon as that coin's in the air, you realize in that moment what you want it to land on.
Yeah.
So like when you're doing card readings like that, I even have someone gave me a Norse, like a rune card set. Mm-hmm. And what I realized from that is like, it's so up to interpretation. You're going to see in it what you want to, and then what you take from it and like what you choose to do with what you take from it. That's your call. Like if anything, it might, and if you're at a time when you feel like you're depressed or you're lost or you're at a standstill, maybe it gives you some kind of a direction to focus your energy, you focus your thoughts towards.
Yeah.
And
I think anything like that is such a powerful tool. And what's unfortunate is the more you believe in it, the more power you give it over your intuition. So the people that believe in it the most, they're like the most lost.
Yeah.
But they often do have like a talent in it.
Yeah.
Because they're so self-deceived. But I think if you like know going into it that it's all bullshit, but you're going to like activate it for the best purpose you can, I think there is value in it. It just sucks that there's so many shitty people drawn to things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the horoscope shit where it's like, this doesn't mean anything, but if you take from it what you want to and try to, apply it in a way, like you can't live your life and make your life decisions based on, what it says there. But if you're, it says something that, stay clear of, strong decisions today or something, like maybe it'll make you think, instead of like, someone says, "Hey, I got this, house for sale and you can afford it. Do you want to get it?" Maybe you think, "Oh, well, actually, maybe I should think about that a minute." And like, that's something, instead of like, I don't know. There's a way that it makes sense that if you don't take it literally and you just use it as just a direction, I think that's fine.
I think if you use it as too strong of a direction, it's bad though.
Right, like not a literal, like, it tells you a thing and it's a direction, but like I said, like, you get out of it what applies to you, and you can figure out what you want based on that. Like if, some people are, not, what's the word I want to use for that? They're like indecisive. Mm-hmm. Or they're lost, not like, in a bad way, but like, you get to the places when you're like, what the fuck am I even doing? Like, you want to do something new, or you want to do, you feel like you're in a cycle, and like.
It is really interesting how certain things that, right? Like if you think of like the stupid crystals or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They're things that in the crazy people's heads, they give off energy, right?
Yeah.
The reality is things like that draw in your fucking energy, right? Like
Yeah,
when
you are literally pouring energy into it.
Exactly. And these people that get like real caught up in like occult, esoteric, religious, whatever, like they're losing so much energy to it. And it's really weird how the things that like, whether it's vices or like those kind of distractions, like things we think give us energy, like really take from us.
I had there was a crystal shop in Florida. It was, like the witch shop or whatever the fuck they called it. And I went in there once. I was looking at, like the rocks or whatever. And I was looking at, like the different, like I was looking at like some of the just different colored shit is what I was looking for. And they were telling me, like, well, this one's good for this one. And this one promotes this feeling. And it's like, I want, like I need a green one and I need a purple one and I need 2 blue ones, maybe something different, but I'm looking for certain shapes because I'm making jewelry or whatever, fucking with it. And, it's not, I'm not shopping for the, the benefits of it, air quotes benefits of it, but, they got real serious and shitty and they were like, it's like, well, I don't, I don't think maybe this is like what you're looking for. And it's like, all right, cool. I just won't shop here.
Right.
I did a similar thing up here, within the last year or so. There's a place up here where, I've been going to this place for a while to get, pretty rocks and shit like that because I make like gifts, like little jewelry and stuff for family members out of them. This one, I told them like, hey, I'm looking for like, it's aesthetic stuff. I make jewelry. And they're like, oh yeah, totally cool. Like, yeah, like you look for something like bigger than this. Like they tried to help me like based on that.
That's
it's
cool.
like, yeah. And it's like, they get it. It's not, it's one of the things you get out of it, what you put into it. If you're holding, a tiger's eye because you think it's going to give you confidence, then, in your back of your head, you're thinking, I have this tiger's eye. This is confidence in my pocket. I have confidence now. Or
right.
So then you're going to act that way. It's goofy.
Yeah. This might sound bold.
For the first time ever, we're going to say something bold.
If you believe in witch shit or runes, you're equally as mentally ill as a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Sucks.
I do think the aesthetic of that
Way
shit
better.
is so much better than Christian shit, but...
See, but the people that get into it's like they're going down a cool route. They're getting into weird, different shit, right?
Mm.
And then they fall for it. They go too far down the road and they become fucking idiots.
I think for a lot of people where it starts, I don't know about it where for a lot of people it actually starts here, but I think a lot of the especially the homeopathic medicine stuff, like the like let your food be your medicine thing, like that's great. I stand by that. Like,
but to an extent, right?
Well, yeah. Like you're not going to cure your cancer by eating more, turmeric or whatever. Right. But it can definitely, turmeric can help you with, inflammation issues and stuff like that. Like,
which is like the cancer.
Yeah, you can have, it can help you with headaches. It can help you with all kinds of stuff if you increase more turmeric in your diet or,
sure.
But different.
It's not replacing your chemo.
Yeah, ginseng and stuff like that. Like it's good to, try to eat better, eat more greens and, stuff to keep your cholesterol right. And like, there's all kinds of shit you can do that you can, focus on that. And it's a natural way to, somewhat medicate yourself instead of having to take, a bunch of pills and shit for it. You can change your diet and it can affect the way your body works. But that's like the closest, and it's not witchcraft. It's just science.
A lot of people talk trash about pills. What's wrong with some good pills? I mean, really. People are like, oh, you don't want to take another pill. Your delicate little liver, your kidneys. Fuck it. Take another pill.
Take Take 2 today.
Take 2.
You got high blood pressure? You know how you take that pill once a day? Take 2 of them today. Fuck it.
Double it up.
Start buying blood pressure pills on the black market.
Got your blood pressure cuff with you all day. I'm trying to keep it high. I'm trying to stay redlined all day.
Actually, there was a guy who told me he went on a this is an extreme diet. It's the Plant Perfect diet. I might have mentioned it on the culinary episode before, but it's no oils, including like natural oils. Like no like avocados and nuts and shit. Like that's like the extreme of it. Yeah. Like no like sugars or anything like that. No artificial sweeteners and shit. It's but this guy was doing it for a while. He just had heart surgery, and like all of like his blood pressure, like all of his like bad cholesterol numbers, like dropped within like 6 months after doing this diet, like to a significant degree. And he was able to like work back in slowly, like, you know, avocado and stuff like that. And like,
that's cool.
And he felt better about it, but like it was a life-changing event for him to, like, you know, you think you're going to die. You have a heart attack. You got to go in for, you have like a triple bypass or some shit.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck, you have to make a change.
Yeah.
In your life after that.
They're finding so much diabetic shit is not, you know, it might not ever be fully reversible, but so much is tied to diet, Alzheimer's, and sugar, like all that shit.
Yeah, my cousin did that actually. He was, I'm not sure if they actually told him like you have diabetes or like you know like you're
just
getting
hyperglycemic as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're basically you have diabetes. If you don't have it right now, you're going to like very shortly, and you know. But he changed his diet up real bad. He started doing like super low sugars in his diet, and you know, like watching what he eats, and he was able to, you know, turn it back. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's doing much better.
I'm kind of glad we started talking today about the crazies, because dude, I swear, man, this week, like my week's been like,
oh yeah, how's your week been?
It's been chill mostly, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like I've become, I feel like I always kind of have been, but more than ever, I feel like I've become a leper. Right? Not a leopard, a leper. Although if I could be a leopard, that would be pretty awesome. That would
be ideal.
Just a leper with a leopard. No, I feel like, man, I just feel so far away from the world and people. And I generally don't think that's a bad thing. But lately, dude, I've just had a lot of fucking anger. Like, fuck people, man. Like,
oh yeah, man, fuck people all day.
Fuck the world. Fuck politics. Fuck all this stupid shit, man. It's just people are so fucking stupid. And it's not like a new revelation. I've always felt, if anything, I'm way, way more chill about it than I used to be.
Right.
For sure. But like, I get these spikes where I feel like I'm gonna go fucking crazy. And then I chill out and I just get farther away. I feel like the older I get, the farther away I am from anything. Mm-hmm. I've managed to get this job that I don't need to be around no one. No one's even seen me at this job. I do art at night in the darkness. And I try to keep, you know, my people close, circle small, people I care about, I care a lot. But like, fuck, it's been hard lately. Like, it is hard to give people any energy when you're like on edge. Been on edge.
Yeah, I do. I can see where if, I mean, even just like doing the prep during the week, it's like just me and my boss. The last couple of weeks, it was just me. And I go into the farmer's market and it's like the only people that are there, like there's a couple administrative people in the office on the opposite side of the building. And then there's one maintenance guy that like, you know, he cleans the floor and does all the shit. And he works on his own and then I work on my own. So like, I maybe one comment to the guy with the whole time I'm there. But if it wasn't for like the market on Friday when it's actually like I'm communicating with people, I can see how I could even fall into that. And that's even like leaving the house on a regular basis.
I have to remind myself to move my car because I don't have to go anywhere anymore. I don't want to go outside. Fuck everything. Fuck the sun. Yeah. I'm going to stay in the dark and get pale as shit.
Yeah, don't worry, man. That's coming. You got 6 months of that shit coming.
I know. I've changed like 8 skin tones. It's ridiculous. Trying to get goth as fuck.
Yeah, I'm somewhat. I always look forward to fall. That's the only guess the problem here is like the fall lasts, for like 4 weeks maybe here.
Right.
And then like once all the fucking, by the time most of the leaves drop, it's like it's snowing. It's wintertime. I
love fall too. Don't you start getting, cause I feel like you've mentioned it before. Don't you start getting the seasonal depression shit though?
I do in the spring when winter turns to spring.
Oh, you're a psycho.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
That is weird.
I think it's what it is after so many months, of the gray shit.
Yeah.
That's when because for me, it's like, when it starts changing up here, we have, I think a lot of it's based on like the lakes on either side of us. Cause you have that peninsula effect of like super wet all the time. Like it's always rainy or something, or, there's always moisture around. So that changes, when the wind comes through, it changes the temperature of the wind and shit like that. So we'll have like, it'll be like warm, or at least, like it'll be sunny and not, snowy for a minute. And then it'll go back to cold. We call it, full spring. Mm. And then it kind of, wanes back and then, it gets cold for another couple weeks, and then it'll like warm up again a little bit and then go right back into the cold. And it does that like several times, until like late April, mid-May, that, we get cold. And it's like, that part fucks me up where it's like, okay, cool. We're coming out of it. Nope. Right back into it. That's when it fucks me up.
Do you get like, so that's kind of like on a seasonal basis. Do you get like, do you feel like there's any part of us, brain, heart, whatever, that is like emotionally or physically tied to the weather in any sense? Like not on a seasonal base, but like on the weather that day. Do you feel like it affects our brain enough, or like just like how we see the world?
I definitely can tell you I'm a lot less productive on like rainy days. I as much as I enjoy a good rain or a fucking thunderstorm or whatever the fuck, I'm not as willing to like, all right, let's get up and do work. Even if it's like inside the house or whatever, like I don't have to leave. It's like, I don't want to do shit. Mm-hmm. And when I do go to work, what we've noticed that like, especially if it's like multiple days in a row of rain, trying to do prep work, it's just, I feel tired and I feel sluggish and shitty.
Is part of that like a peaceful thing? Like, do you feel like it just like chills you out?
Yeah. It's like, I just want to be at home and I want to be, relaxing and focus on other shit. I don't think it's really a bad thing. It's just not a good, it's not my preferred environment to work in.
Yeah. Sarah has a habit of, and it's a lovely one. Anytime it rains, we have the windows open to listen to.
Nice. Yeah.
But,
dude, you'll fucking love my place.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get a good rain while you're here.
Some rain and some trains.
It's so dope.
I'm a made man.
hitting the ceiling here and the skylight. And the cat's finally not scared of it when it rains now.
Yeah. See, for me, rain, it might be kind of, it's definitely soothing, but I get very introverted. Like not like depressive, like fucky, but like thinky, where I get so zoned out. I don't know, man. I've been like I've been zoning a lot lately.
And I can somewhat feel that, but I think for me it's like I said, I was kind of burning the candle at both ends for a while now, but especially last week I just got burnt out on myself, and like I couldn't get myself to do anything. So like Monday I put together this art like drafting table that my family got me, and shouts out to them for doing that for me. And then that was like my productive thing for the day. And then yesterday I put up the Halloween decorations.
Nice.
And that was my productive thing yesterday. But other than that, man, it's been fucking horror movies.
Anything good?
I watched the new Halloween movie.
That doesn't sound good.
It didn't suck that bad. So I've been on, I think I said it last episode, it's like, I think there's something fun about like that kind of like killer movies, like monster killer movies. Michael Myers is a cool character, that he's supposedly just a person, but like he's not, he's like unkillable or whatever. No, it definitely could have been worse. I expected worse, but it wasn't too bad. I would say go watch it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a fan of and have watched the other movies. I haven't watched all of them, but I got enough. Even if you haven't seen them, they give you enough of the story that you can pick back into it. I watched Fourth Kind. That's always a good watch. That was the one that actually, no matter how many times I've seen it, I was just telling my boss earlier today, I watched it, and then we were talking on the phone the other day as like it was like most of the way through, and while I was on the phone with you, actually, I walked into my bedroom because you gotta walk around while I'm on the phone.
Same.
And when I walked in, I realized that the lights were off and the corners of the room were really dark, and it was like, oh, I should turn this light on. Like it's such a stupid thing, and if like I know what's up about the movie, but it's still like it's a freaky fucking movie.
Okay, that's a good lead in. So the dark corners of your room, right?
Yeah.
You know there's nothing there, right?
Yeah.
Why the fuck do we look, right? Like So both with movies, like I've been very jaded lately. I think I've just become bitter as fuck. I'm just bitter, right? Conversations with people, like about the weather, not like how does weather affect your mind. Like if you're gonna tell me it's nice weather out today, I want you to die and never speak again.
Well,
right?
It's a hot one out there today.
Like, shut the fuck up.
Especially if you're both out in it already.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I see it. Right.
It's raining cats and dogs out there. It's like, thanks, bud.
Dude, I just hate conversations with people. Like, I don't know. I wish. Right. I feel like we talk about, like, we goof. We're new boot goofing a lot, right?
Yeah.
But, like, this show has been an excuse to talk about at least some real shit or weird shit or just explore shit. Like, most conversations with people are just, like, so surface level, right? Yeah. Dude, that shit drives me crazy. Like, we don't have to, like, talk about, like, all our past trauma upon meeting someone, right?
Yeah.
But, like, if we can't talk about anything interesting more than, like, stating facts about things around us, it makes me so sad.
Right.
Like, I get sad. Like, I don't want to meet up with anyone and just, like, hang out or, like every once in a while, that's cool, but I don't want to just, like, kick it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like whether it's movies or whatever, like, I don't know. I want to talk about something that means something a little bit more. I want to wonder about why we're looking into dark corners. I want to like fuck with our heads and like see what's there, you know?
So I feel like
brain surgery shit.
Is it weirder? I think it's weirder now to like, if you want to push that conversation of like something weird or something, you know, more deep and obscure that lets you know more about the person. Like usually that like, you know, hot weather we're having, like that's an icebreaker thing.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, how about, you know, you walk up to someone and say like, so what's your favorite ancient society? You know, what's your favorite obscure, you know, mythological study? Or what's your favorite, what do you think about,
how are you perceiving that heat on the back of your neck? Is it all in your head? Is the sun real? Like I just watched a long.
Just walk up to someone at a bar. Prove to me the Earth is round.
Exactly. Like I don't know. It feels like, you know, like we all do different things to get by, right?
Yeah.
And I think for some people such as ourselves to explore ideas and to question ourselves, it makes it easier, right? Mm-hmm. Because like all those questions like build up. Like I used to talk to Sam late at night. We'd be smoking or whatever, and we would always talk about the ignorance matrix. The more ignorant you are, the less you have to question anything. Ignorance is bliss, right?
Right.
If you're very critical or introspective, all those questions they accumulate more than you can ever get rid of them. So like for people like us, it helps to like get that shit out. It's therapeutic, right? It's interesting. But for a lot of people that they got to do what they got to do. And like ignoring shit, I just can't imagine ignoring shit or disengaging from like deeper truths or knowledge.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that makes it easier to get by. And it makes me sad when like I feel like so often around me, I can't engage in anything with anyone.
Yeah. It's like, even if it doesn't affect you, it's something that's obscure in a way that like, even like for me, like that's one of like the like black holes and like string theory and shit like that. Like it doesn't affect me.
No,
knowing that information, even if they came out tomorrow and said like, we found the other dimensions and we can prove string theory. It's not going to affect my life other than like maybe they'll be able to make new tech and shit out of knowing this information. There's no way that's going to have a correlation on the way that I spend time with my family and shit like that. Like, or the way I do my job, it's not going to affect me. So I feel like it's just a fun thing that's like, you know, to discuss, like when it's open-ended. I mean, even religion for that matter. It's like when it's like there's no proof one way or the other to question and discuss something like that. It's, you know, you don't have a hard, you know, basis, or even if it's something that like something different where it's like you don't have a foot in the race because like, I feel like that's one of the things with like, racism and like homophobia and stuff is like people that experience this more often is like, or that people that are, you know, more racist and homophobic, or it's usually you can correlate that with they don't have experience with those people. They've been raised and taught by other people that also never had experience with those people or were taught something shitty. But then like, you know, you see it in a lot of small towns and shit like that, where it's like, they don't have, you know, experience with trans people. They don't know what that means other than what they heard from, you know, one of their, you know, cis friends or something. So like explaining to them like why pronouns are, you know, an important thing, like it means nothing to them. So instead of, you know, they can make that choice to either engage and say like, okay, well, how what can I learn about this thing that I don't know about? Or they can say, nah, that doesn't affect me. Never mind, I don't want to.
Stick my head in the fucking sand.
Exactly.
Well, all right, that's a decent correlation. So, like, science, religion, tech, black holes, fucking tarot cards, right?
Yeah.
All that shit doesn't affect us, right? Totally impractical, right? Mm-hmm. Except, like, devil's advocate, how we choose to use it. Yeah. Just like the fucking psychics. Like, a black hole may never affect your life, but knowing more about where we are, right? Like, can teach us more about ourselves. Like, anything that we can, life is just learning how to fucking die and be okay with ourselves, right? Like, we're always changing, and we
Damn, that's fucked up.
Right?
I agree, but it's fucked up.
It's super fucked. Yeah. We're just learning how to fucking die and be okay with ourselves. That's the whole fucking point. It's top of the mountain to start over. It's Nietzsche. It's all that stupid shit. It's all a waste of time. None of it fucking matters, right? Mm-hmm. One of my rehab dudes, this was when Trump and Hillary, right before the election, and he was such an asshole. He would meme vote for Trump, right? He was just one of those idiots, right? Mm-hmm. I fucking love the dude, and he was older. For him, it actually was just a meme. He just didn't give a fuck at all. But his whole thing was, why the fuck should I care who the fuck is president? Because tomorrow I'm still taking the bus, right? Mm-hmm. Like, whether it's tech, psychics, whatever, like, it's all impractical except what we learn about ourselves from it, right? And, like, the people that keep their head in the fucking sand all the time, like, what makes me sad is, like, I don't care that they're stuck. Like, they're going nowhere, right?
Right.
They'll never do anything interesting. They'll be just whatever, lost the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah.
But what makes me sad is I can't learn anything about myself from them because their fucking head is in the sand while I want to, like, say something, right?
Yeah. You're trying to evolve yourself.
Yeah, dude.
They're an obstruction in that path.
Like, on some real shit, like, I fucking hate myself. Like, I hate people, right? But, like, I'm okay with who I am now, but I don't ever want to be, like, so in love with myself that I'm never going to try to change.
Right.
Like, I would rather be uncomfortable and frustrated and attempting to learn something than to just be like, I'm good how I am. Like, fuck that.
You can't grow in a comfort zone.
No. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Just sucks. This shit means something more.
Yeah. I want to circle back to the looking in the dark corners thing.
Yeah.
So I have a theory on that, and I think there's probably studies on why, more details of that, but I think so I learned a long time ago, and you'll see it in groups of people, of, like, any size. You know, you ever been to, like, a party or, like, a wedding or, like, a large event where all of a sudden everyone just gets quiet? Mm-hmm. And, you know, and then it kind of, you know, you look around like, oh shit, like, what just happened? And then you go back to your conversation or whatever.
And you hear YMCA building slowly.
They link it back to, if you look at, like, large, like, herds of animals out in the wild, they will do that. Like, they'll be about their business by the watering hole or whatever, and then they'll all just kind of stop, and they stick their heads up and they look around and they go back to their business. And you're checking your surroundings. It's a way to, like, it's a survival instinct. You go back to, you know, your regular programming after that, but you have to take a second, like, okay, wait, check my shit. Okay, cool. I think that looking, you know, that curiosity of what's the unknown, what's in the dark, that's just a survival instinct. of like, gotta look at it, gotta see, what, even if your brain is tells you, like, obviously there's nothing there. Obviously I know that's not a person standing there, it's a coat rack, whatever the fuck. There's that little thing in the back of your head that's, for your lizard brain that's clicking and thinking like, well, what if it's a threat?
Yeah. How in tune do you feel like, how separated from our animal mind do you think we are? And like, how in tune with it do you feel like you are?
I feel like, at least I feel like I'm probably less separated than I think I am. I think that in general for people, I think we're less separated than we think we are. We just utilize those points in different ways. Even like, your instincts of like, when you're around new people and you have to like, I don't know, like a vibe check on somebody, or you're trying to what's the word I'm looking for? When you're kind of like testing out, like when you meet someone new and there's just like like we were saying with evil, like you have that gut feeling when you meet someone and there's just like, there's something off, there's something wrong about this person. Like you just don't feel safe. Like that's that animal instinct.
Which sense do you get most from? Like, I know you have better sense of smell with food stuff. Like, what level of information do you think you're perceiving from your sensory aspects?
From sensory stuff, I mean, I can mostly tell you if something's spoiled or not.
That person is spoiled. They're rotting inside. I can tell from here.
You got a trust fund baby right here.
Like those cancer sniffing dogs.
You smell like old money.
Holy fuck! It's so, dude. Did you know they had dogs that could smell COVID?
Yeah.
Holy
I did see that.
Fuck!
That's some wild shit.
That's in tune. I wish we were on that level with our animal.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you think your sight is probably the number one. For like a protection standpoint of like, because you can see away much further than you can see further away than you can, smell. I guess hearing, but
yeah, the ocular pat down is for real.
The ocular pat down. Well, I guess hearing too, because how often do you hear like, especially since I've been living on my own, it's like when I hear something else, I have to think, where did that come from? Like, is it my cat fucking up shit? Is it, like the tenant in the house that's, in this other unit, or is it my mom downstairs? Or is it a squirrel running across the roof, which happens a decent amount? Mm-hmm. I thought it was critters in the wall, but it turns out that it's actually squirrels and shit running across the roof, which is cool.
In a high stress moment, right?
Yeah.
Let's say
when I think there's a person in the house and I come around the corner with a gun, but it's actually a bat.
Sure. Yeah. So high stress situation, you're straining to perceive something, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say it wasn't a bat and it really was a person, or you're fairly sure it was, and they're like, you don't know if they're 10 feet away around a corner or like 2 rooms away, right?
Right.
And you're trying to figure it out. Do you feel like that attempt to decipher is solely with your senses? Or do you feel like there's anything else that activates? And I can preface it with some things, or see what you think first.
So I feel like there is a lot of instinct in that moment where I legitimately did think that there was a person in my home.
Yeah.
The way I responded, it wasn't like a thinking out my next moves kind of thing. It was like a automatic, I know where the gun is, grab that. And it was even like the stealth of it, the way I wasn't like jumping out of bed. It was like a step out and grab it. And it was like it felt very natural in a way that was like, it felt very like automatic response.
This gun was molded for my hand.
even in the like they said the moment where I'm standing around the corner and it's like I was just about to put my finger on the trigger before I turned around the corner and I took my finger off. That was probably the only point where in my head I actually like, you know, the little synapse connected and like I thought for a second, and it wasn't just acting on impulse.
Yeah. What if you could stay in that flow state all the time? Pure instinct as a way of life.
I can, not all the time, but when I'm working in a restaurant and you're like, we're buried in tickets and like you have like a bunch of shit, that's exactly what that's like.
I feel like
when you're experienced and you know what you're doing, that's exactly what that's like. You have to be that way where every movement has to make sense. It has to be without thought. It has to just be like, I'm doing this because I need to do this. And you have your next, 3 to 5 moves are all planned out. I have to do this and then I can do this and then I can do this. And it makes sense for me to do this before I do this. But like, you're not thinking those things. You're just doing it.
So I was saying I've been getting spaced out a lot. I feel like it is legitimately a form of, not really, but in a way, like of time travel or visiting other dimensions, right? Like they're not real places you're visiting for sure, but it's some mirror world shit. Like you're visiting the other string theory dimensions, right? You're seeing other possibilities. You're entering the past. You're going through time, right? So in regular time, right? Just regular bullshit life. You have those flow states like danger, where it's animal instinct, or you have that like pure intuition when you're at work, and something like that is it can be equally as instinctual or intense, but it's harder to keep going because it takes a lot of energy from you to stay engaged in that, right? So
hang on just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just couldn't remember that I hit record on Audacity. I just had a panic moment. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So I think the other ways I get somewhere similar, right, are meditative things. Art, for sure, I think is very active meditation. I definitely get all kinds of weird shit. Like, do you ever get, while you're in instinct mode, do you hear or perceive anything that isn't like actually there? Like, you're thinking the things, but it manifests a little bit.
Explain what you mean a little bit more. Like, give me an example.
So if I'm concentrating very hard, it's not all the time. It's kind of rare, and it's both special in a good way and negative way. But if I'm concentrating on art for a long time and I'm nearing exhaustion, and it's normally when I'm very frustrated, right? Like I feel like I'm failing. And there's a bit of that anxiety aspect where you're like, this isn't working. I can't figure it out. It's all doubt based, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like a defense mechanism of sorts, like engage, where I feel like I'm hearing voices like screaming at me. Right? Like, no one's saying anything. It's definitely not real, but it's like a pressure thing. Like, you get so focused, like you hear shit attacking your psyche. And it's definitely not words. It's just like the feeling of voices, right? Like the feeling of like an audio pressure, and you focus through it, right? And it's like a weird thing in the sense where it's, if I know I start, and it's just like, I feel like other people maybe who have had panic attacks or something might understand that. It's like you just feel like the static of pressure.
Yes.
As like an audio thing almost. It's not like affecting what you're hearing in real life, but it feels like it is. And if you can like stay engaged and like focus through it, it's like if you're stoned, as soon as you crack, you're fucked. Mm-hmm. It's like full party wipe. F and chat, your shit's fucking done. But if you stay intact, like you can get to the other side of it, and normally in a way that's rewarding. Yeah. It's like a psychological scarification kind of deal.
I can say that when you said, anxiety attack, that click with me, because what happens when I get like my social anxiety bullshit, like when you're at the grocery store and then you realize that like you're in the way everywhere you move and someone else is coming around this corner and you're just trying to like stop so you can like look at something real quick. And like, there's like 4 people waiting for you to move. And like, I hate that. Like that fucks me up.
Do you hear
it feels like, it just feels like for me, I think everything gets louder.
Yeah, sure.
Like the existing audio just is like deafening. I do get that, but it's like not a noise that's not there, maybe. Or at least I haven't noticed it to be that way.
I feel like we're probably talking about the same thing in a different way.
I just perceive it differently.
Yeah. So like,
I was going to say if anything, when I get into for me, like that automatic, like response thing we were talking about at work, like that's my favorite thing about working in the industry. Like that high, it's like, it feels like a high because, in that moment though, I can feel my body shift gears, my brain kind of shift into that mode. I feel that, because it feels like time kind of slows down a little bit, and it feels like when you're in a plane or something and like your ears kind of like pop. Yeah. And like, it's kind of like right before that when it's kind of like all the sound is muffled. That's kind of what it feels like, except for like I'm listening for certain things. Like I know I need to be listening for this person, or one of these servers to like contact me. But all the other noise I block out. I'm focused on like 3 or 4 voices. And that's there isn't. I was going to say there is an audio component to that I recognize.
But that flow state, like that is you at your most like distilled version of
my most powerful form.
Yeah, that is you doing what you need to be doing in that moment. It's so I wish I could find it right now, but there's so many studies on like how music helps an old person, like dementia, like those keeping your synapses sharper, like regular flow state engagement changes your brain plasticity. It changes how we experience like that moment and all other moments. It's so important to like, it's the ultimate release outside of drugs.
I got ASMR while working a shift one time. It was really weird. It fucked me up. I didn't like it. I usually like the ASMR, but I usually get it when I'm like chilling and, like listening to a thing, but like that one fucked me up. I wasn't expecting it and it was weird.
I think ASMR is like uname for the ears.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, it's funny. So I was going to say, like the closest I can get to flow states without the high intensity aspect, in the past, it was always like sedatives, hypnotics, and benzos are really good for living in flow state. Obviously bad for remembering that flow state, right? But
who needs to remember it though?
Hey, there's something to that. We're not meant to remember. Take 2 of them. So we asked about audio form of perception. So like with visual, right? Mm-hmm. In that high intensity moment, right? Straining in the dark, do you have any visual changes, or do you feel like you are actually perceiving with your visual sense, or do you feel like there are other parts of you that like your synapses are connecting? Like, are you perceiving any other things that aren't just physical input?
I don't know. I want to say yes, only because of my own. So like in the moment, that high tension moment where it was like, like when I thought someone was in the house, it was a very short moment, before I realized it was a bat. And then like, so I didn't really get a chance to like live in that for a minute. Mm-hmm. But if I'm equating it to that high pressure moment at work where I'm in that focus zone, yeah. I would say definitely yes. There's that internal clock thing. Like it's weird because like I said, it feels like time goes slower for me, but it's like when you have like 4, things going on and burners on the stove. And then you have like, 15 burgers on the fucking grill, plus this bacon, and then plus like all these breads and like all this other shit that you got working. And then these things gotta be plated up, and like you're working on multiple things at once. You can't keep track of how long this thing's been in the oven or how long this thing's been on the burner and shit like that. But yet when I'm in that moment, especially, it's like I've always considered it like a sixth sense. And I kind of get into it when I'm not in that mode, but like a sixth sense of knowing like this thing's ready. This thing's going to be ready in a minute. This thing's ready in 30 seconds. Like it's, I'm sure it's just experience. But
memory.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing there. And I'm not sure if it's like just an internal clock that's perceiving it, or.
Do you also lose time? For me, that's a big thing when I'm entering different states.
No. Not so much. If
you're more in tune with it.
Yeah, if anything, the workday kind of does seem longer. When it's like that, especially if it's like, 4 hours of that straight. And then it just gets exhausting.
Yeah, there's a come down.
Oh yeah. Sure. That's one of the reasons, cigarettes were so important. It's like you need to take a break. You need a reason to step outside.
Yeah.
Fuck, just this last weekend, we had a Saturday, and it wasn't even busy in the morning. It was kind of slow, but like, I got there at 6:00, and then before I knew it, it was fucking, 10 o'clock already. And I said something out loud. I was like, fuck, it's already 10. And then that moment from 10 to 11, or the hour from 10 to 11, felt like, the exact same amount of time within that hour. Because it did pick up. But
can I push you?
Yeah.
So what about spiritual perception?
How do you mean?
Right? We're not religious. We don't believe in ritual as a general thing. In a spiritual sense. Do you feel like people can emit energies, or that there are like, even if it was like just physical, right? Like we have gravity, mm-hmm. right? Or solar rays that are invisible, dark matter, things that like, let's say those things could be considered spiritual, right? Let's make it a little more plausible. Okay. Or that thought energy could be a real form of energy, like chi, right? All the shit. Do you feel like there is any legitimacy in the sense of like us being able to perceive the spirit realm, or like the energy of others? Like now, when you're entering states, do you feel like you have some intuition to those things?
That's actually part of my my whole my ghost theory. And of course, I don't believe in ghosts or whatever, but I my thing, we talked about it with the string theory and multiple universes thing, but like if there's a moment where, you know, there's an interlap or something, if you're not focused on it, I think it makes more sense that you can miss it. I think it makes sense that, you know, you're not paying attention, or you're not, like, I guess when you're in tune like that, you're in that focus mode where you're turned off to the usual stimulus that's coming in from the outside. Yeah, I think logically that would mean that it makes sense that you are, if you're blocking all that excess stimuli, then you are more open to, you know, new shit, or, you know, more minute differences.
Did you frame it once to me as the echo of molecules?
Yeah. So the it's like a spirits thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you're
so I have a couple different ideas. No, you're on the right track. I think it's a different theory. So, for me, one of my ideas is that, like you were saying, like your thought energy, like that's like a perceivable energy, and like it's a perceivable. You can measure your brain waves when you think. Like that's a thing. Once it leaves your head, it's not like you don't perceive someone else's thoughts. That's, you know, fucking telekinesis or whatever, or, you know, telecommunication. That stuff is fucking weird. But imagine if you could, like, we don't have that technology yet to do that, but like with, you know, your brain chips and shit that are coming out, like that could be a thing. Mm-hmm. And like, so within that, like within those thoughts that you have, like that's your conscious, or that's your consciousness. That's your, you know, the thing that makes you what you are, your thoughts and your, you know, your personal choices and your personality type. That's all in your brain. So when you die, I feel like that's that energy has to go somewhere. And whether it's like a radio wave, that's the way I saw it. It's something like a radio wave that reverberates. It goes out. And like a magnetism, those waves are attracted to similar waves, or like, you know, things that they corresponded with. So like if it's someone that you loved and you cared about, and you know, you're familiar with this wave that they put out, whether you're conscious of that wave or not, it does make sense for it to, you know, for you to be conscious of it after, you know, in a subconscious way. You recognize it after the fact, after they die. Yeah. And of course, like it's fucking mumbo jumbo shit, but I think it's a fun idea.
Yeah. I don't think I believe in spiritual energy of sorts, but I do think there is something like there is something where you can be more tuned in to forms of energy maybe we don't understand.
Yeah. And that's the other, I was like, I don't like to call it spiritual energy. I think it's just your brain waves. Sure. You know, because I think spiritual energy, it's kind of loaded.
It very loaded.
So I think it's, you know, the measure of your, you know, a measurable wave that is your person, your individual person.
So in one of the episodes of Fringe that was recent was the worm with, what was it? The hypothalamus. It wasn't the hippocampus. What was it? Maybe it was a thyroid, but they had different extrasensory organs. Like how wild would it be that, like, we were reading on one of the recent episodes, they found a new organ in our throats, like in the last year. Mm-hmm. And they still don't really know what it does. But what if we had other sensory organs? Or like when we talked about biohacking stuff a little bit, there's a professor that's really into biohacking. I forget his name. He did his own chip implant, And I don't know what form of energy it uses, but he turns on and off his lab lights using thought. Like, there's so much we might not understand. So where I was going with this, I'm going to see if I can tie this bullshit back together with a bow. So, and remind me to come back to radio wave. Yeah. Radio wave decay. I'm going to get there. I'm going to loop it. All right. So, this was maybe 4 years ago, 5, maybe longer, maybe 6 years ago. I don't understand time. So, I had a series of very intense trips, and one of which I would kind of think of as a mushroom overdose, like really fucked me up. And then afterwards, within like a couple months, I had a series of like overdoses on some fentanyl shit. And one of the times, the last one of that series, I lost a lot of oxygen, right? Mm-hmm. And it was right after some really fucked up mushroom trips. And it stayed with me for a long time. Like, my brain was off, like noticeably off, very foggy. But you know how, I don't know how much you've had, but where the visuals stay with you a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I already had tracer vision for like a year before that. And then after I lost a bunch of the oxygen, dude, I had the weirdest phenomenon that I'm sure it's just like brain damage shit, right? Mm-hmm. But I just hadn't seen or heard anyone else that experienced it. So I got really like, just like overly fascinated by it. But I had this thing where if I closed my eyes, right? Mm-hmm. You know, normally you see swirlies, whatever, and you press on your eyes and you look at the pretty colors, right?
Yeah.
So if I would just lay in the dark, you know how sometimes you feel the blood pressure in your head just pulse a little bit? I could feel the pulse, and in tune with that pulse, right? Your heart's an electric pulse. I would feel the pulse in my face, around my eyes, and even though my eyes were closed, the room would flash, right? Whatever room I was in with my eyes closed, it was almost like dark vision in a video game when you have the pulse, like pulse for dark vision. I could get like a pulse of like the outlines of light of the room I was in. And I could like do it for like hours. And it felt like
wild.
And it felt like real sight. And like we talked about remote sensing recently. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things like, I don't know if it could ever happen in a place I wasn't familiar with, or like that my imagination couldn't capture, but it felt real. Like it felt like I was able to see something that was like under the layers of reality that maybe I normally couldn't perceive. And I fully realize how stupid that sounds, and that like most likely just fucked my brain up a bit. And like I was just seeing some synapses fire bad, right?
You got psychic powers after overdose.
It felt like it, man. But like, I don't know. I feel like maybe there are things, and I feel it most with time, that I feel like there's a lot of things that we don't understand about how we perceive.
That I 100% agree with. There's definitely shit that we don't know, or especially even like just shit about the brain and the way it works. Like, we have really strong understandings, much better than, even 50 years ago, how our brains work. But
not
like
really.
If we've learned that much in just 50 years, how much more can we learn in another 100?
Yeah, they say with like biology, like we don't fully understand how Tylenol works. Like we don't know why inflammation changes, right? Like
it just works. It just does.
Yeah, like, we know what happens to the cells and what does what. We know how to measure, but we don't know like every aspect of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like there's so much we don't know. Like, I hate when people say your brain's like a computer. It's like, if your brain's like a computer, that squid is like an airplane, right? Like, our brains are closer to a squid than an air or a fucking computer, right? It's just it's organic mush. Like, we don't know how things connect.
It's meat with an electrical current.
Yeah, like people with teeth problems, they found like if you have to get, what is it called? Where they drill out a dead tooth.
Root canal?
Yeah, root canals. Dude, there are so many crazy problems linked to, because it's the only surgery we ever do where you seal in necrotic tissue. Right? You can't ever perfectly clean out the cavity.
Right.
And then we're sealing it with human material, right? Like, that shit festers, and all your teeth are connected to different nerves.
Yeah.
And they've found like how the teeth connect to your brain. There's so many other disease complications that they're starting to think could be tied to root canals. It's wild.
That is wild. I mean, like, there's even like gum disease is linked to like heart disease,
right?
And shit like that. Like, that's fucking wild. They say like if you flossing increases, you know, like could put like 10 years on your life.
Are you a good flosser?
No,
man. My teeth.
That's such a hard fucking habit. My
teeth are so bad. I can like poke my gums through almost all of my molars.
Oh,
they're like my fronts. I look good. I look like I brushed my teeth for 30 years. The back looked like they smoked meth and ate candy for 30 years. But I don't even know what the fuck I was gonna say. Something about teeth. All right. Do you want to do the spin to radio decay?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And Dungeons and Dragons. All right, so ghost memories, whatever, an echo of molecules. That's the base. We'll say sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like just as like energy can decay, do you feel like parts of who we are? I'll preface it. Your D&D character died recently, right?
Okay, so to be fair, it wasn't the character that I made, but I've been controlling this character for about 2 years now.
Okay, so let's say you did make it, right? Yeah. It's a projection of yourself.
Yeah,
it's part of your energy to an extent, right?
Yeah.
That character dies. Do you feel like a part of you dies? Do you feel like there are parts of ourselves that decay away? Like the energy, your skin cells are constantly growing and dying, right? We're always changing. Do you feel like with enough either time or work that parts of us are meant to die and decay away? Do we change?
Yes. And in particular, I think, so with the D&D character thing, because I was thinking about if it had been my character that I made. So this is in the first campaign that I started. We started about almost 4 years ago now. And if it had been my character, I would have been extremely upset. And it almost was.
Honestly, I can't fully understand that. I understand the idea of it, but I can't feel that.
So for me, it's like I think there's multiple things that go into it. One, it was my first character for D&D. I've always wanted to play D&D and finally got a chance to. Second, it's like something I'm doing with my cousin. And that's also makes it really important to me. But like I said, I've been playing with this character and like, trying to do cool shit. And, I came up with like backstory and all this history and lore about this character and stuff that like to fuel the way that he thinks and would react to situations and stuff. I've got a lot of time invested into this character. So I do think a part of us does die with that, but I think it's a part that didn't exist until you created that character. You know, like it might be based on things that already existed, but you create this, you know, especially with role-playing things, you create this persona, you create this version of, not a version of yourself so much, but this
projection.
This projection. It's a life that you're
phantom.
Yeah, exactly. It's a thing that you are taking the control of. When that goes away, you know, I don't know, it's like a weird, I do think that there's a part of you that dies a little bit.
So that's like you mapping your energy into the world, right? Like
right.
Your thoughts, your ideas, it's something you create, right?
Yes.
That part of you that made that is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your character dies. Do those parts of yourself, of your consciousness, like actually decay? Do they change?
I think they just become a memory at that point. I mean, like if you can always, like you can always bring back the character and like just by a different name. It's just also, a ranger who's a, proficient archer or whatever and has similar stats or whatever. And just call it something else. You can do that, sure. But I feel like even still, it's like, if you're doing it right, like you want to invest in making I think, part of role playing things like that, it's like you want to make a new character. You want to have a different experience. That's part of the fun of it.
Dude, memories are just the mourning of the death of a time.
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah.
That's like deep.
That. Right? Like
the mourning of the death of a time?
Yeah. Like it's a time that's decayed, it's gone, it's dead, and by re-experiencing the memory, we're mourning the loss. Or honoring, but it's still dead.
Did you ever read the thing that says, your future self is watching your current self right now through memories? It's not at all the same thing that you were saying, but there's something that reminded me of it.
There's an assumption that we're still alive in the future there.
Well,
and
yeah.
Tomorrow is promised to no man.
That's right.
All right. Parts of us decay into memories, you were saying.
Yeah.
So, do you think as people, as animal people, do you think it's possible we are more parasitic than we think? In the sense, like, do you feel like parts of us can live and die with others? Whether it's a significant other, someone you just really love, or with mankind in general, like the ants in the colony. Do you feel like there's an element of us that's parasitic enough that we are linked in death and life to others?
So first of all, when you say animal people, you mean furries, right?
Of course.
Do
you see this tail?
We both definitely wear our fursuits when we record. Microphone in the headpiece.
Sometimes you get lazy and just use the butt plug tails.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's when you're lazy. Don't want to know when you have the time to invest in it. So I think, honestly, by nature, humans are a lot more parasitic than we often think about. I mean, by nature, all things that rely on other things, like that's parasitic. But we, especially in a more, in like a modern society, or like in a more free society where when your goals are, personal gain and self gain, you're very much thinking, you know, like what is the Machiavellianism thing?
By any means.
By any means. So like your thought process is how do I gain from this? What do I gain from this? And I think even like kind people, like people that have the best of intentions, they still have that thought. Those thoughts occasionally. So it's I think by nature we have that in us.
That sounds more like a predator than parasite.
Well,
whether we mean to or not.
Well, the only difference in a predator versus a parasite is that a predator, I guess, does more work, you know, seemingly does more work to get their ends met.
Predator.
A parasite that, you know, latches itself onto something and leeches its way through it.
Right. The predator typically kills what it's feeding on while the parasite leaves it alive so it can keep feeding.
Yeah. And I mean, isn't that what well, I mean, you can argue that we're being predators to the planet. I was going to say, isn't that kind of what we do with the planet? Like, ideally, we want it to be alive and thriving so that we can.
Friendship is pretty parasitic. Mutually.
Yeah.
Like you feed off each other and you don't want each other to die so you can keep rewarding yourself through the other person.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a strong take on it, on friendship. But I know what you mean. Absolutely. There is definitely the selfish part of that where it's like, I mean, you see it a lot in like, even like tropes of like, you know, when there's like 3 friends or whatever, and like 2 of them are like, they're best friends. But like this one's like, oh, you're our best friend too. And it's like, can't have 2 best. You know?
and the 2 close ones nibble on the other one's feet at night.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about subtractive parts of our conscious, parts that can fade away, feeding on others. What about adding to it? And earlier I said we don't believe in ritual in the sense of like a spiritual ritual. Yeah. I feel like I love ritual, right? That's my thing. And the first thing that comes to mind is like tattooing, body modification, changing our spiritual shell. Not spiritual. That sounded so fucking stupid. Our like husk.
Hey man, just start making your candles and selling them at the farmer's market. You're already there.
Dude, I already got a table reserved, bro. But like changing our husk, right? That sounds better. Our stupid meat bag skin. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's ways like we can either stimulate or build our consciousness? Is it through experience, through change? Other people?
I mean, there's a lot of options, I think. So one of my favorite things about traveling, I heard somewhere, was that when you travel somewhere, you find a piece of yourself.
I like that one.
You know, the number one thing that you take away from it, it's something that it's for you. You know, what you take out of it. It's your choice of what it is, I guess. It's not even a choice, really. It's like what you perceive of it, whether it's unconsciously or subconsciously or whatever. But you leave with something new about yourself, which is why everyone should travel if you can, especially long distances, different cultures and stuff like that. Seeing it on the Discovery Channel isn't enough. It's good to do, you know, research and stuff like that, but it's not the same thing. I think that's one of the most like fast acting changes, or either that or grief, like strong emotional stimuli.
Would it be fair to say both of those could fall under experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
So high octane in one way or another experience, whether it's discovery or pain or
I think
hope.
there is also a thing that like when you dress a certain way, it changes your the way that you walk kind of thing. You know, if you're, you know, even if it's not even so much that you like, you know, you wear a suit every day, that's gonna fade eventually too. Like you wear a certain style of clothing or whatever every day. It does, while it does change the way that other people perceive you, and it might change the way like your formalities about yourself and the way you communicate with people. But that also, you get used to it. So like changing up your look every now and then, or, you know, I don't have tattoos, so I don't know if it's the same thing, but I feel like getting new tattoos could be a part of that. It's a different thing that you're putting out. Like I just got, you know, last year I got this fucking jean jacket and I put some patches on it with like, it's like colored shit. Like I just wear black and white and neutral shit all the time. But like it was like a blue jacket with like colored patches on it, that it's a different vibe for me. But it was like it gave me a different feeling of myself. Yeah. When I walked outside.
Yeah. It really can change things. It's weird. Like, I don't know. I was going to say something.
I feel like that for that reason, like I would say also there is a way that your husk can affect your perception, at least of yourself.
What about things like, so we have experience. What about like knowledge? Like, I guess we talked about that a bit earlier, like by learning about things, you can find more about yourself to change.
Yeah. So I think like the knowledge that comes with, it's one of those things that comes with, you know, that external stimuli.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. All right. What about some scarlet letter shit, right? You have the naughty priest who whips his back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like you make, and the idea was, you know, you're freeing yourself of your sins, you're building scar tissue, you become stronger. It's just like working out, building muscle, eating well, like those things. What about that form of like, and I see how it's tied to the emotion stuff like anguish, but like that form of punishing or like torturing your mind a little bit for growth? There's
I mean, I guess I don't know. The way I perceive that is it's unnecessary, but I also feel like I have a keen sense of myself of like of learning from your mistakes. Of like if you do something that you feel like you need to repent for, that you feel like you fucked up, you know, I feel like if you can at least acknowledge that you were in the wrong in this situation, and you take actions to make it right, try to make it right by whomever else, you know, you wronged, or, you know, try to make it right on, you know, by you, then that's really all you can do. That punishment, like that further wallowing in it, only serves to hurt you. It doesn't, I don't think you gain from being stagnant in the, in like punishing yourself. It shouldn't be about punishing. It should be about learning.
I know what you mean. That sounded a little, like psychologically mutilating ish.
Yeah.
But there's like some really cool new studies on like, guys who are going bald, right? They have all these medications like Noxatril or whatever the fuck it's called that helps you regrow hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hair transplants, all this shit. But there's been these crazy good results with people who use a very disciplined regimen of microneedling. And basically the idea is you use different systems. There's different methods and shit. It's like the gilking shit for dick growth too. I don't know how.
Gilking?
There's a whole, I think it's called jelking. Well, have you seen those Asian dudes that have the scarred genitals that lift like 400 pounds with their balls?
No.
Dude, there's dudes that like they tie like 400 pounds to their balls and they like deadlift it, right?
I mean, like I've seen like the BME Pain Olympics.
It's like the real sport version of it.
Jesus
basically.
Christ.
Like their genitals are just scar tissue, right? And they learn how to lift weights with it. It's ridiculous. But there's methods where you can like, they call it joking, and you can actually make your dick bigger through basically breaking down your tissue and stretching it over and over, right? So there's this thing with the balding shit. They do this needling process. And what happens is when you injure your scalp, right? It sets off a chain reaction that I don't understand that like creates protein. It encourages a protein production, right? So you're injured just like a scab, right? You get injured and your body overcompensates to heal. So when you get pushed into a state like you fucked up in life, you have to heal, you have to do penance, whatever the fuck, like you can grow back stronger than how you were previously kind of thing. So they do this microneedling in a regimen like every day, poking their scalp thousands of times because your brain, your body releases all this shit and you grow back more skin cells than you punctured type of thing. I think there's something to like, whether it's penance,
I think people like even like cutting yourself and shit like that. Like, I think that's like even the penance thing. Like I think it's symbolic. The scar tissue or whatever, the stuff in your head, if you're trying to promote, if it promotes hair growth, I think like that's different. Because you're causing a physical, the effect or what you're trying to do is affect a physical change. When you're trying to affect a chemical change through that physical activity, I can see where in long sets of repetition and like doing it on a ritualistic kind of base, you could create a chemical change in your brain because of it. But I don't see, I mean, most of the time that's like short term. Like people say like when they cut themselves or whatever, they get like endorphins from it.
Definitely.
So like, I don't know that experiences, but it's fleeting, right? Like it doesn't stick with you.
I have mixed, so I fucking love self-mutilation. It was my jam, right? But there's good and negative to it. But you're right. It's a brief high, right?
Yeah.
But if you do it as a ritual, right? Mm-hmm. The nature of the scar is also very powerful. A lot of people have like a lot of shame related to it because of how other people see it.
Right.
But if you can ignore that part of it and you think of it as like you're becoming stronger, there's more. Your scar tissue is thicker, you're carving your stripes, you're crafting your armor, whatever. There's something about the nature of a lasting mark that, while it may hold some sadness, I still think there are ways that it can be a very powerful tool also.
That part I do understand.
Yeah, I just feel like there's something with the mind that way too. I just don't know how to
I take a lot of pride in the, my battle wounds, either my kitchen injuries or like when I just sliced my thumb open the other day, like those scars, I like those because it's like it's a memory. It's like, it doesn't alter, my body, I can still like move my, everything right. Everything still works. I didn't like cut nerves or anything stupid. But it's just I don't know. It shows experience.
I think what I'm trying to say in the dumbest way possible is just trauma. Like psychological trauma, depending on how we use it, can make us a lot stronger. Maybe not the self-torture, like not the self-mental mutilation of like hurting our own mind, but like experiencing shitty shit.
Even like grief. Grief is You definitely, while I've definitely seen examples of people that don't come out stronger, I think more often than not, you come out with a new and unique experience, having dealt with grief, whether it's, someone dies or, even like, someone, breaks up with you or whatever, like that loss in general of like, especially if it's like traumatic or it's something that's really sudden, like it affects you so strongly. And a lot, there's usually a lot of change going at once that you have to adapt to. And I think it does, you come out on the other end of that, a different person.
Good or bad, it's different.
Yeah, good or bad, it's different.
And you can make it stronger.
Yeah.
You can build back better.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. But I feel like there's a lot, there's really something to scar tissue mentally. I don't know. If I could go through every trauma possible and become fucking immortal, like, I feel like I'd be willing to go through, like, all kinds of dimensions of pain if I knew it would make me better,
Mm-hmm. So, have you watched the Hellraiser series? That's we talked about that, because that's basically what those movies are about.
But they almost always end up dying if they lived, right? Or do they live?
Well, that's like what the Cenobites are. Is like they went through it and they came out on the other side a stronger being, a transcendent being.
Yeah, then they get to experience all the pain and pleasure. I heard
the pleasures that come with the pains.
I've heard someone describe the Cenobites as a metaphor for drug use and sobriety. You go through all the pain and pleasure, and then they're enlightened in sobriety. And I was like, well, fuck, you just really ruined that movie.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Funny.
I wouldn't have said that at all.
No.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
Yeah.
I like the idea better of the Cenobites are just literally what they are. They get sexual pleasure out of pain, out of masochism and sadism. I think more sadism than the actual masochism is their whole thing. They will inflict the pain on other people, but it's to teach them. It's to show them.
I feel like I want to ask you something really heavy, but I don't know what I want to ask. I feel it. Like, I don't know. Like, do you feel like good about like where your mind is?
Lately I do. I feel like I'm a little scattered.
Let me rephrase. Not where your mind is, like where it will be.
That's a different question.
It is like the memento mori shit. Like, do you feel like all right, the path your mind has taken, right? Like, realistically, we both have a lot of good times and shitty times ahead of us, right? Hopefully more good than bad, right?
Right.
But to some degree of certainty, not entirely, we can see what is going to happen. We can use our perceptions that we don't understand to like feel what the rest of our lives or like what our mind will become. Like, there's something like we know, right? Like, I feel like you can see glimpses of what will be. You know, I forget what it was in, but you could see the last thing somebody died on their eyes kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something like our mind knows what it will be, right? And like living is just accepting that mind is going to fall apart. Like, do you feel like you're okay with what your life will be and that your mind will fade?
I think as I get older, it's been harder to kind of see the future, more or less. I feel like when I was younger, I at least had like visions in my head, you know, like of like, this is what I expect, or this is what I can kind of like see in my future, in my path. Like these are the things that I'm like looking forward to. As
there were
I'm
way more expectations back then,
yeah,
right?
and then as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's much harder. There are definitely, like when you meet people that are like you have a connection with, or like when you start building a connection with somebody new, you can see more of a future with them, even if it's like I'd like to, you know, go do this thing with this person, or I'd like to experience this, you know, because they made this recommendation to me or something like that. Like you get excited about certain prospects, and that can give you some kind of something to look forward to, I guess. And it's not exactly the same, but it's like I was thinking like a 5-year plan. Like I used to have, you know, 10-year, 8-year, 5-year plans. You know, loose, but like within, like if this goes this way, then I want to, you know, continue building it this way, like for the 8-year thing. It's so much harder now for me to think like, well, where am I going to be in 5 years now? And I think part of it's because,
but who will you be?
Yeah, exactly.
In 5 years?
So like for me, it's like, it used to be easier, because I was so set on like owning a restaurant or owning a, you know, culinary something. And in the last like three years, I've decided like, no, that's a waste of money. I don't want to do that. That's a bad way to invest money. If I want to do it, I want to do it smarter than that. Restaurants suck. So it's more of like, I've been trying to figure out like, well, how do I continue to make money doing something that I enjoy doing? And for me, like consulting and helping to build other businesses, I do like that.
But do you think you will be happy with who you are in your head 5 years from now? Not your situation.
I think so. I think that, sorry, thought I was going to sneeze. I think that I'm pretty confident with who I am. I like the person that I am. There are definitely times when I feel like, my social, like interactions, like when I'm like, especially like upon meeting new people, like I'm definitely not good at that. And I understand my weaknesses in that. But I think that part of it's like, I've spent a lot of time like alone. And it's not like, you know, like alone. It's just, you know, like being single or being, you know, introverted. And I enjoy that solitary time, that I've spent a lot of time in my own head. So I feel like I'm pretty aware of who I am, and I enjoy being with myself. Or at least I don't mind it for long periods. Of course, you know, it gets tiring being with anyone for a long time, and, you know, like solitary confinement would suck, but, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm confident that within, you know, 5 years, I'll still be happy with myself. 10, probably still also true. But I'm also I expect new experiences and stimuli to mold more of who I am. I definitely don't consider myself to be in my final form kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to get at. Do you feel like you can see the path? Like 5 years, it's fuzzy, but you have an idea of who you will be. Like, you know, there's going to be changes. But something I've been feeling a lot is like craving the unknown of it.
Right.
Like, I want bigger changes. Like, I don't want the change I can see in 5 years. I want the change. I want to understand, like, the unknown about that. That sounds so fucking stupid. I want to, like...
I get it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, there's also, like, I feel confident in saying that, and I was kind of just thinking in a minute, like, it kind of feels like, well, of course, but, like, I also just realized, like, but if I think about myself, 15 years ago, I hated myself then. I thought I was cool then, but now I look back at myself when I was 15 and I was an asshole. I hated myself. I hate myself then. I think in general, I think I had good intentions, but I also did and said a lot of dumb shit that I wish I could change. But that's another thing I've learned from, and I was like, oh, don't be that cringy, shitty kid.
I want to have a conversation about that, maybe on this next cycle, about things we wish we could have taught ourselves, type of thing,
Mm-hmm. Facebook is forever. That's one of the things. some comments and some deep dive. Ugh, it's scary. It's bad.
I get what you're saying though. Like, it's like you can see a future version of yourselves, but if you look back, I still feel like I'm becoming so different than I would have seen back then.
Yes.
And I'm very curious about, like, both why that is and, like, how to foster those, like, currently unknown things that change us in unexpected ways later.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, instead of parts of you dying, what parts of you are going to grow that you didn't expect? Like fungi, little mushrooms on our brains.
Like what parts of you have to die to make room for.
Yes, dude. I feel that way so strongly about relationships. Like, like dating relationships. Like, you think things can be one way, and I feel like, part of you dies, little veins collapse, your heart darkens and slows down a little bit, and then different parts of you grow, and a relationship will never be the same, but it can be different or better.
Yeah. I think the healthiest thing, is as long as you take what you're really taking forward from that relationship is like learning experiences, like, oh, I should have, I should have listened to myself more, or I should have trusted myself more, or I can't tolerate this kind of, behavior because I see what it does. Like when you're in the moment, like I can definitely understand people that are in like, verbally abusive situations. I've never really been in a physically abusive situation that was like an ongoing thing, but like in the verbally abusive situations, I can understand where people are like, they want to make it work because they have so much history and such a strong connection with someone that like in that moment, in that time, they're there and they want to try to make it a better situation. But once you're out of it, I realized like, oh wow, I can't tolerate someone talking to me like that. Right. There's no way I'll ever let someone talk to me like that again.
Fuck no. Dude, I have some humiliating memories on the street. Like some shit that like Sam probably knows. And that we probably, if ever, I don't know if we ever talked about it again type shit. Mm-hmm. Where it's just like shit that like I wish I could have done so differently.
Yeah.
But that, and I never would tolerate now. But if it didn't happen, I wouldn't feel that strongly about all the situations that came after where I did. It's like, do you feel like, we got to do a full talk on it another time. But like going back, do you feel like I don't believe in destiny, right?
Right.
There's no way. We have choice, some amount of free will. But do you feel like your path could have been different? Maybe it took a different shape, but it still would have been the same journey. Like, I don't feel like as angry and as like crazy and all the fucked up shit I did. There's so many adults over the years or random people try to talk me out of things. But there's no way, like, I could have talked myself out of those things. Or changed what I needed to go through.
I kind of feel like the opposite. Where, because I think it's just my own stubbornness that, like, people could have tried to, and have tried to persuade me to do, to take different choices, based on experiences. And I chose not to, sometimes for the, I think for the better. And sometimes, I definitely wish I could have gone back and actually listened to them. But I think I stand by my own guns so much. Yeah, that it's sometimes, absolutely can be detrimental. But at least then it's my decision that I made that I learned from, and not I listen to someone else. Those are, I think, the more embarrassing times in my life is when I listen to someone else and it doesn't go right. And because I didn't trust myself, now I have pieces to pick up.
You know what I'm going to call that?
What?
Some click, click, boom wisdom.
Yeah, there you go. Stand by your guns, and then you have no one to blame but yourself.
Fuck yeah.
I believe in that with a lot of stuff, though. Like, even like, one of my things I'm bad about is with management is like training people, and like handing over certain tasks, because I feel like certain things, like if this is done wrong, then I'm responsible. It's my fault. I fucked it up because they fucked it up. I fucked it up. Where I know, like, if I need this done now, it's easier if I just do it myself. Because if they fuck this up, then we lose out on, money and time and I need this now. So,
but you got to let them fuck up, and that way you can whip them in the back of the kitchen. Yeah. They grow back strong.
Let them get their penance.
Yeah. Let them grow back better employees as the scars.
He's the inside of the inner roll of the plastic wrap.
You're right.
You ever see more of those, the inner roll of the industrial plastic wraps or the commercial size plastic wraps?
I don't think so.
Hard as fuck, dog. You could definitely crush someone's temple with that motherfucker.
That's what I was going to say earlier. I had a long pause on it. Speaking of crushing things, dude, I don't know if I've ever showed you this. I have, we were saying like marks are like manifested memories, right? Tattoos, like that mark on you, specific time, place. It's the morning of that time passing. I have my back has all these tiny little pockets of raised skin because this is so fucking stupid, dude. Me, Sam, and our buddy Evan, who I haven't seen in literally 8 years, and I might see at this wedding, which I have some mixed feelings about, but hopefully it's all good. Mm-hmm. But we would be so fucking bored. We would just sit in these church parking lots and just like this like break shit. You know what I mean? Just like trying to figure out who the fuck we are, right? Talking about dumb shit. We'd play this game we made up called Schmoople and like do other dumb shit, eat wild strawberries and smoke cigarettes, right?
It sounds like a good afternoon.
It was actually some pretty good times. We were all miserable, but good times.
Yeah. You had someone to share your misery with.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. I remember one time we were at Evan's dad's house and somebody threw out in the neighborhood, a bunch of fluorescent bulbs. So out of sheer boredom and depression, we just decided to see if we could break them on our backs like pro wrestlers.
Yeah,
right?
man. Hell yeah.
Dude, it's been 14 years and glass still comes out of my back.
Wow.
That powdered glass has just stayed in there, dude. It's crazy. It's got to be pure cancer. Every once in a while, there's a little flake or two that comes out, and I can like feel it in my skin. But I remember, and I'm so glad those scars are there, because every time I think about it, I think about how fucking funny it was. It was the best joke ever. The cancer is going to be so worth it. But I remember afterwards, we all wanted to go to Skyline, and I had like my first couple ecstasy tabs, and I think they were pink Obamas.
Pink Obamas.
And I remember,
God damn.
I remember eating a couple pink Obamas, and I think they were pretty bunk or really speedy, and we didn't have enough seats in the pickup truck to go to Skyline. So I have glass shards all in my back, and we're out of seats. So I lay in the bed of the truck, but he had a truck cover on it, and the fumes of the exhaust just fed back into the bed of the truck. And by the time we got to Skyline, I was so sick, and I felt awesome. And it was good memories.
And it felt awesome.
And it was awesome. Every time I think about glass or Skyline and pink Obamas, I get a little chuckle, you know?
That made me think of, there's probably several of these, but there's one in particular that I'm actively looking for right now. It was a JCW, which is Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So this one in particular, they lined the entire ring, like all of the ropes around the side. They made like a picket fence kind of out of the fluorescent light bulbs.
Dude, I went through 2 bulbs. I don't know how they could do that and not have permanent lifeline.
Oh, they absolutely do have permanent damage.
That's wild as fuck.
There's one of the scenes in this fight, though. He takes a so it's a trash can, a metal aluminum trash can full of light bulbs, and like slams the dude into it, like head first.
Dude, it's powdered glass shit inside of it. It's not like regular glass shards. It's like cancer powder.
Yeah.
Like ground glass powder. It's whatever's inside of there is, I can't imagine like them wrestling in. I've seen some of the, like random clips like that, and it makes me cringe so fucking hard. Because it looks like, it's just a little glass.
Dude, there's ones where like they're like making like engineering feats, like they're making tables and shit out of these bulbs, and then like throwing people off a ladder into them and shit like that.
God. We're gonna have to watch some of those soon.
Yeah, dude, it is hella fucked.
Hell yeah!
All right, hold on. I think I found the one here. I guess I can't say hold on. We're recording a thing. I forgot we were recording a thing. That's one of my.
Fuck 'em, they can wait.
That's one of my favorite things about when we were recording, and then like all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, I forgot we were actually recording, and that's kind of fun.
It's a good feeling. That's that zone out. You went to a new dimension where we were normies without a podcast.
Yeah, fucking normies. I'm gonna send you a link in the chat here for this because it's funny. and then go to 16 minutes and 30 seconds.
Beautiful. And then after this, do you want to pick up our last couple points and get boot scooting?
I figure we could talk while you're watching that.
Is it a Facebook link?
It is a Facebook link, yeah.
It says I'm temporarily blocked on the link.
Oh, shit. Who are you blocked from?
I'm not. I don't know why it said that. It opened just fine. Necro Butcher versus Madman Pondo. All right.
Yeah.
Scrubbing.
16:30.
Look at these hillbillies.
They're already covered in blood. They're just fucking disgusting.
Was this Juggalo related? JCW?
Yeah, Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
What's the other extreme one?
ECW.
Yeah, that's the guy
Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, that dude killed a dude.
Did he really?
Yeah, no, like the owner creator, he killed a man. I believe it was an accidental manslaughter kind of deal. But he did like 15 years in prison, unrelated to wrestling.
Dude, look at all the glass sticking out of his back.
Just like random shit. And then after he got out of prison, like at age 40, he did the ECW thing. Dude, what the fuck?
It's wild as hell.
How do people find this? JCW Deathmatch, Madman Pondo versus the Necro Butcher.
Yeah. You can. Dude, all I did was a Google search JCW.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That powder. You just gave me PTSD. That shit is not real, like normal glass. It's so fine. You know how like metal powder, like if you're working in a tooling shop or something, that metal powder,
yeah,
you know how it gets in your skin just on contact and it takes days for it to work out? That powder is the same way, dude.
Dude, scrub forward to 22 minutes. It's so fucked. There's like outside people coming into the ring and like helping them construct this sculpture of fucking God glass bulbs.
Dude, they have to have like died like 2 months from cancer.
I think one of them was still going for a while. Fucking Madman Pondo. I know he was a extreme wrestling like legend.
I've heard.
Just does the most wild. Him and who's the other one? Fucking Rude Boy. Just fucking the most wild, crazy shit they would do.
Did you watch the Andre the Giant doc that came out recently?
I did not yet. It's
really good. That might be worth us talking about sometime.
Yeah, I'm down with that. He was a fucking character. Like even the refs like trying to set it back up so it goes right.
Holy fuck.
They edited. It looked like they edited that part out. Maybe that didn't go well because the camera cuts off and they
just clouds.
There's someone picking him up off the ground. Oh, sweet Jesus!
Oh, I love it. That's beautiful. That made me really happy. Yep, I think about being in that pickup truck on two pink Obamas, truck fumes, and a cigarette in a closed space. Gets me going every time. So what's this bullshit about Ashton Kutcher?
So Ashton Kutcher. Apparently, so he's investing in the lab-grown cultured meat that we talked about in the veganism episode. Nice. Where they're taking the muscle.
He's a douche, right?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know the guy, but from what I understand,
cool in real life.
Yeah, he might be super cool, but like everyone paints him as a douchebag.
Yeah.
Let me go back to this link here. That would be more helpful than
cultured meat veganism update.
Yeah, so he's for anyone that doesn't know, so they're taking the muscle cell tissue and from animals, which it's like a harmless thing. They use like a little, tiny needle and they remove it from them, and then they're using plant proteins to feed it and it grows. Like muscle tissue can do, but it just does it. They just do it in a petri dish, and they're having a lot of success with it and they're planning it to be a future, form of like a plant-based meat options. But technically it is animal products. It's just made with, it's cruelty-free animal products, I guess, if you think about it that way. They don't need a farm full of animals to do it. They need a cow to get cell tissue from.
That's so cool.
And then they use, I think in one I saw they were using like chickpea protein or something to grow it. But they can produce beef, chicken, and pork. There's already, I know there's like a chicken nugget or something on the market that they're working with. They're doing like 3D printing. They're working like Just is a big brand that's doing it.
Think about all the future exotic hybrid meats we could grow.
Hell
like
yeah.
kangaroo spliced with alligator, jerky, you know what I mean?
Tell you right now, kangaroo sucks.
Oh, I bet it's all stringy.
Kangaroo does make decent jerky, because it's just already tough.
If you had alligator jerky?
I have had alligator jerky.
That was okay, I thought.
Also kind of weird because they, at least from what I understand, they only really use like the tail. It's like the only good part of the alligator. The rest of it's like, it's organs and there's not like a lot of muscle around their stuff.
Right.
And like the muscles around like their arms and shit, it's small and it's tough.
Yeah. The tail's probably got 60% of their body's muscle.
Yeah. But that's...
When are we going to eat those baby chickens in front of God to witness?
The fucking what now?
Remember the Hannibal, the fried chicklets? Where you don't wear the cloth on your face?
Yeah.
How many how many views do we have to get?
To do that live on stream? Do that on Twitch and get banned immediately off our first Twitch channel. There's a lot of people that do the have like the TikToks where they have like they're eating like live like bugs and like seafood and shit.
It just seems so desperate.
I mean, the bugs, eating them live, I think is that's the harder part for me to like, oh, that's a little much.
I don't care that, I think it's cool that they're trying shit, but it seems weird to record yourself doing it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all of social media.
Well, I feel like they're not in those areas. They're not doing something like that's outrageous for them.
Oh,
yeah. Usually it's like in like Thailand or in the Philippines or something like that.
That's their actual cuisine.
Yeah. I don't.
That's cool.
Yeah, like that's one I can't see myself eating like alive. Like some of those like grubs and stuff that are like really fucking big. They look like the fucking the bugs from the Lion King.
Yeah.
Which, looked fucking delicious.
Cartoony.
Yeah, they're like
shit.
big and weird and like squirmy. It's like I can't imagine eating that thing while it's moving. But I don't know.
I would.
I'm all down with, bug protein. Bugs is a source of protein.
Cricket chocolate bars, just like
oh yeah, man. Get them crispity crunchies.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I wouldn't want to. I'd do it for some Fear Factor shit or if it tasted good, but I don't want to eat some creepy crawly.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, if I was in the area, but even if I was in the area, there are things that I would rather invest in eating. If, as a culinary industry person, like I feel like there are definitely things like the cultured meat thing. I definitely want to try that. That's like I gotta try that.
What's the first animal that comes to mind that you wouldn't eat?
That I wouldn't eat?
Like for let's say it's survival, but you could find something else to eat, but you're hungry as fuck. You're starving. First animal you wouldn't eat.
Okay. If I'm starving, that list gets real short. I mean, my cat. That's probably about it. I mean, I don't know. Like I can't. I've never really been in that situation, so I don't.
I could never eat a monkey.
That would it would be really weird.
Too weird.
That's like what was it? The when people ask, like, do people eat Pokemon? And the answer is, of course they do. And which ones? And like, no one's eating Mr. Mime because it looks like a person. No one's eating, fucking Alakazam because they just like,
whiskers.
They speak human. Or they can communicate to you in English. There's, it's like, obviously, in some southern, more rural places are eating Radishes and Pikachus.
Dude, the studies about how many people in the South have hookworms is crazy. Dude, there's estimates that 40% of the U.S. had hookworm parasites, and they go to your brain and affect your thoughts and shit. And in Brazil, they have a huge problem. I don't think it's hookworms, but it's another parasite in cat poop that it changes your brain function and can oftentimes make you more aggressive. And it does that by fueling testosterone production.
Oh, wow.
So there's even some sports where athletes have been experimenting with giving themselves this particular parasite because they could raise their testosterone levels naturally.
That's fucking wild.
It's wild, dude. Cool shit. So we got eating monkeys and hookworms in there.
I was going to say, as far as on like a general basis, I've decided I don't. It's something that people commonly eat that I don't want to eat anymore. Is octopus. Because number one, it's a lot of work to prepare them and make them taste good.
You gotta massage them for hours.
Yeah, it's so much, but also like they're highly, highly intelligent, and I find them fascinating to a point of like them are like an owl. Like I wouldn't eat an owl.
Dude, you gotta watch that My Octopus Teacher documentary.
I've seen parts of it.
Okay. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's a kick-ass animal. They're I mean, I think we discussed that in the veganism thing. It's like where do you draw the line? You ever seen those billboards where it's like, where do you draw the line? And then like people like physically, like it was like a horse and a cow and, or it was a cow and then a horse and then, like a dog and then a cat. And they just drew the line between the horse and the cow. Like here's where I draw the line. It's like, I'm down to eat that one. It's like,
that's a pretty cool billboard.
I think it's a good contemplating thing of like where, like if you're going to not eat an animal because it's intelligent and capable of feelings or whatever, like, but these animals are also intelligent and capable of feelings. Yeah. But like bacon's good, shit like that. It's like, it's hard. I don't know.
Such a bad argument.
Yeah, it's a super shitty argument.
We all can feel it though too.
Yeah.
Should we mention? I know I gotta roll out of here. Possible upcoming topic.
Yeah. So we are currently deep in investigation. Following
straight Sherlock.
Yeah, we're following all the major media outlets and all of the underground ones, finding out as much information we can about the Alec Baldwin gate information.
It's such a sad story.
It's so fucked up.
It's really fucked up. But there's just so many bad takes online right now about it. People have been so shitty about this whole thing. So that might be one of our entertainment episodes coming up, but there's so many people jumping to conclusions too. We don't want to speak on anything till there's more information.
Exactly. So that you can definitely look forward to that.
And then I have a note that says Dante's Inferno.
It wasn't because we were talking about D&D before this, and Keith's other campaign has.
It was. I think we should do a Journey Through Hell episode.
I've actually never seen or read Dante's Inferno.
I don't think you're missing much, to be honest.
I mean, I understand like the idea of it, but I haven't seen it.
It wasn't written in English, right? Like, I'm pretty sure it's like really dry for us to read. It's an old thing, you know what I mean? I think there's some really cool descriptions. I've definitely read some passages, but I don't know if it's like a fun read or not. I've heard it just gets really dry.
I know Keith read it in like middle school or high school or something. He went to like Catholic school growing up, and he, you know, I think he didn't put a lot of faith into it, you know, as he got older, but I think I know he enjoys the mythological part of, you know, like all the deep lore of like the saints and the, you know, shit like that.
What I recently had learned that's pretty interesting, the Bible only mentions hell like maybe it's under 10 times. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like only like 3 times. I know they mention it in Revelations, but the other times they mention it's like a weak, like comparison. Like, there's no real descriptions of hell. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it also depends on which translation you're looking at too.
I just think we could do a fun thing where we go through the levels and like experience what our versions of those things or what it would be like. A journey.
Is there not a live action Dante's Inferno movie?
There's definitely been like things from like operas to plays. There's definitely stuff out there.
I know there's an animated thing. I thought there was like a live action. I might, you know what I'm actually thinking of, the cover art I'm thinking of in my head is Devil May Cry.
Hey, real quick, I do gotta hop off. Can I plug this song real quick?
Yeah. Let's go on ahead and get the fuck on out of here.
Cool. So speaking of some metal shit, we have our honorable mention. We mentioned earlier, it's some really cool black metal stuff. The creator of this is Symphonic Noctum, and it is spelled SYMPHONYC space Noctum, NOCTUM. You can find their music on YouTube. You just have to spell it exactly like that, because if you don't, a bunch of like goofy Harry Potter shit will come up.
Cool.
Because people like to call things spell names. But this is like really interesting black metal. It's symphonic, which isn't always my thing, but this person does it very well. It has some serious horror elements, especially in the book-ending intro outro. Some cool electronic stuff, some weird-ass satanic chanting. The stuff's super metal, but very, very fun. It's not too heavy either, you know? It reminds me of Echo Ephraites. I'm saying that wrong for sure. If anybody knows who that is, you're awesome, because it's a count in Iran that makes black metal music.
That's so dope.
Yeah, so cool. This stuff's really beautiful. The track we're going to play is called De Noctis Tenebris by Symphonic Noctum. So stick around.
Hell yeah. So thanks again for listening. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John.
Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats Trashcast on Instagram for news and art from the show. You can also check out the Facebook.
For the memes.
Yeah, for the memes. Definitely. I mean, you told me not to, but, you know, I feel like as we're, you know, expanding, we should definitely say, you know, go hop on that Reddit.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say no.
The Reddit is dead. If you're bored, you can check out my trash yard on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. And special shouts out to Symphonic Noctum. I appreciate you sharing the music, dude. I'm glad to have some people check it out. We'll also share pages, if you like the music, on our Instagram and Facebook. So keep an eye out for some cool links.
Hell yeah.
Tune in next Wednesday for our episode on art stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Shit.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash.
And now, Dea Noctum Tenebris by Symphonic Noctum.
Killed it.